And now you are live. We're live with Shiv Talwar from the Supernova Convergence Room at the Up Convergence. Welcome, and we welcome Shiv here and appreciate what you're about to share with us today. Thank you so much, Shiv.
Thank you very much, Becky. I thank the Peace Beacon for giving me this opportunity of talking about our work. Um, my name is Shiv Talwar. I'm going to share the screen before I say too much. Uh, do you see the screen here with Shan written here? And is this the screen? Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, it looks good.
Uh,
And
the
if you want to record on your machine, you're welcome to.
I can record. Well, this is fine. I can download it from Facebook.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Um, the organization I work for is Spiritual Heritage Education Network, and SHEN is the acronym for it. We have a vision which is all encompassing. We have here this diagram which graphically shows what we are all about. We are about spiritual heritage education, spiritual heritage of the whole humanity. We do not do anything that is not all inclusive. The topic today is envisioning the future of education, teaching unity in diversity, and that teaching is going to be based upon a discipline that I chose to call holistic science. And holistic science is the science that emerges uh, when metaphysics, physics, and human scripture and the discipline of neurophysiology, they converge, and from their convergence, a science develops, which I choose to call holistic science, because that talks about, this science talks about from different angles, uh, which cohere with each other, about the existence of the universe and about the existence of a human being and how a human being behaves and how we can transform that behavior by raising human consciousness. Uh, because of the coherence between various disciplines that converge to for the holistic science to emerge, uh, it can revolutionize communication as far as science and spirituality is concerned. It can revolutionize their study and their research. So I'm going to look at physics and metaphysics. What is metaphysics? According to metaphysics, this existence is from something infinite and infinitesimal, both at the same time. It is infinitesimal as far as its subtlety is concerned. It is so subtle that it is not perceptible, even with the most powerful microscope that you can build. As a matter of fact, it is so imperceptible that you cannot build a microscope to see it. And it is infinitely subtle. And it is also infinitesimal because it is infinitely subtle. It is so tiny that it has no size, no dimension to it, no concreteness to it. It can be represented by a point. So according to metaphysics, if this point is that infinite and infinitesimal reality, which spirituality calls by the name of spirit, if then this from this point, this reality begins to concretize. It begins to grow. It begins to gain dimensions. And so as we go to the left, the concretization increases. Okay. So the concretization is zero at this point. It is infinitely subtle, means it has got no dimension, no concretization, and it increases. And over here, it's a perceptible universe. The concretization would be one. It is fully perceptible, so there's no point having a degree of concretization more than one. So zero concretization here, one here. So the universe is a concretization of the infinite and infinite spirit. That is spirituality. And then according to physics, Einstein's um, you know, energy mass equivalence, energy is similar to spirit. That also is infinitely subtle, and it has an infinite potential. And it can also be represented by a point. And according to physics, that energy concretizes in different configurations to become matter of different kind. So the material universe, according to physics, is a concretization of energy. Okay. Now, it is physics that chose to uh, make energy as less comprehensive than spirit. So it is to the left of spirit. It only gives rise to physical universe, whereas spirit gives rise to the universe of physicality and also mentality. It gives rise to this universe of matter and mind. So this is uh, metaphysics. The outer diagram and the inner diagram is physics. And according to metaphysics, even matter has got mind. According to metaphysics, spirit is an indivisible whole of matter or energy and consciousness. Energy and consciousness, you can say, are two sides of a coin that is called spirit. They are indivisible. So even matter has got mind, and this is what quantum physics has determined. The quantum particles behave just like human mind does. So the thought that matter has no mind, I think, is now outdated. The small particles, quantum particles, of which matter is comprised of, behaves indeterministically, just like mind does. So otherwise, if matter had no mind, it cannot behave. Matter behaves in its own environment. It combined with other matter to become compounds of different nature, depending upon whether uh, compatible material is available in its vicinity or not, or what kind of compatible material is available in the vicinity. So it chooses, it makes choices, and then it behaves, interacts with other matter. So matter has got mind. So now according to new understanding of physics, actually there will only be the spirit would also be here, because according to metaphysics, spirit is an indivisible combination of energy and consciousness. So these two diagrams really become one. Something more of physics and metaphysics. There are paradoxical, lots of paradoxes in both of them. Okay, starting from the left-hand column here, all gross matter that we can easily see, that is obvious to our eyes, comes from infinite subtlety. Okay, you can say perceptible comes from imperceptible. Dimensions come from dimensionless. Particulate matter comes from non-particulate energy. Energy is not particulate. Particles only exist in matter. What kind of particles? We know electrons, protons, neutrons, that they are the most known. Everybody who's taken chemistry knows about electrons, protons, and neutrons. And if you go to quantum particles, there are innumerable of particles that are there. All attributes come from something attributeless. Energy, for example, has got no attributes. Only that energy which becomes visible has got attributes. Like electrical energy is a form of energy. Magnetic energy is a form of energy. And energy can be converted from one form to the other. But what is energy is not known. And what are its qualities is not known. Although physics defines it as the capacity to do work, the same way as spirit is the capacity to grow into material universe of mind and matter, energy and spirit can only be defined in terms of its effects, not individually, not independent definition of either one of them. If they have no attribution definitions, they have no attributes. Color comes from colorless, diversity from unity, definite from indefinite, white matter from dark matter. We'll come back to that white matter and dark matter later on after this slide. Existence from non-existence, because something which is infinite as well as infinitesimal you cannot see, so how do you know? In our normal lingo, existence is what you can touch and feel, and if you can't touch and feel it, it is not existence. We say it doesn't exist. So in our vernacular ordinary language, existence comes from non-existence, matter from something that is immaterial, energy has got no particulate, form from formless, spirit and energy both are formless. I have a form, I come from spirit, you have form, you come from spirit, but where we come from has got no form. And spirit is known to be eternal. It does not change. Eternal is something that stays as it is before the beginning of time, then during time, and then after time ends, you can say. Time began when there was this Big Bang. At the time of Big Bang, that's when time began. So spirit was there before the Big Bang, or energy was there before the Big Bang, and it will be there after the universe dissolves. Uh, so it is itself changeless, but then I change. I was a little person, then I grow older, then I grow yet older, then I fall sick, then I'm happy, then I'm not happy. So I change all the time, and I am temporary, I'm temporal. And temporal comes from what? Timeless. That is the spirit. Light from darkness. Differentiation from non-differentiation. Determinate for indeterminate. And white energy from dark energy. So this is a list that came to my mind. If I think more about it, I probably can go on. So because of these paradoxes, the truth of physics as well as metaphysics cannot be seen with the eyes of the body. Physics and non-differentiation. Let's look at it. Dark energy is a mystery, but it is an important mystery because it turns out that roughly 68% of the universe is dark energy. Dark matter takes up about 27%. The rest of everything on Earth, everything ever observed with all of our instruments in heavenly bodies, all is white matter, and it's actually less than 5%. And this is physics. You go to the site of to NASA site, and you will see these numbers there. What is dark matter? According to NASA, we are much more certain of what dark matter is not than we are of what it is. So nobody knows, even in modern physics, what dark matter is, what dark energy is. They know it's there because they can see its effects. You see the effect of something but you don't see that something. That something is dark matter. There is so much gravity at places that you cannot forget about, but gravity can only be there if there is matter. There's no matter, there's no gravity. But if there's gravity, there's matter, but that matter is not visible, so they call it dark matter. Same thing about energy. The energy that's not visible, they call it dark energy. Some more facts. Matter with mass is from energy with no mass. A universe which is 92 billion light years across and expanding is from a dimensionless, weightless singularity point. That is physics. And then life science. An average adult human being, starting from one infinitesimally tiny cell at conception, comprises 37.2 trillion cells. How does that happen? They say God made the universe from nothing.
Okay, I found this on the web for God made the universe from nothing. Check it out.
Come on, Sarah, I don't want you to interrupt me. anyways, so that one cell I was, that made my whole big body from itself by a process in biology called mitosis. Mitosis means asexual multiplication. So one cell becomes two, two becomes four, four becomes eight, like that, go on. And some new cells are being born and old cells are dying. And the result of all that process over a number of years is 37.2 trillion cells in my body, starting from one cell. And that one cell that I started with, you need a pretty high-powered microscope to see. And there is much more to the truth than meets the eye of the body. And that is why we need contemplative education. According to metaphysics, matter, little tiny creatures, big animals, and human beings, everything that exists in the universe are from one absolute spirit that can be represented by this point. And from this point, depending upon the configuration of what is being created, different things are being created. At first, matter was created. People who are, they say that we do not believe in evolution, but this is Bible. Matter was created, then creatures, then animals, and then human beings. And the path of concretization depends on what is being created. The creator is the same, the spirit, that grows to become different beings in the universe. And the first stage, according to science as well as metaphysics say from this one point, concretization happens and different things come in existence. Okay, and physics says from this point of singularity, there was a big bang, and that's what created the universe. So this is the big bang of physics, and this is the concretization of metaphysics, and this is from the Vedas. There was neither ought nor not. In other words, in the beginning, there was no existence, and you cannot say that nothing existed also. There was existence and non-existence at the same time. No air nor sky above. That one breathed calmly, self-sustained. That one is referred to this one here, the spirit. Breathed calmly, self-sustained. Gloom hid in gloom. Oh, two ins, okay. Gloom hid in gloom existed first. In the beginning, there was darkness covered by darkness, if you can imagine what that would mean. That one by inward forward grew. That one, that means the spirit, started growing by its inner energy, inward forward. Okay, this is from a Vedic hymn called Nasadiya Sukta. Okay, Nasadiya Sukta. Nasadiya means that which appears to appears like the non-existent. It is not the non-existent, but it appears like one. To a person like me, if I cannot see it, it doesn't exist. Okay, then I say it is not existing. But what is saying that it exists, but I may not be able to see it. It may appear like it's non-existence. So creatio ex nihilo means creation from nothing. Actually, nothing comes from nothing, but existence comes from that which appears like non-existent. Okay, so that is the story. Genesis. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. See, darkness here, darkness here. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. That one with inner fervor moves, sustains, breathes by itself. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. First there was darkness, then there was light. Same here. Same here. So darkness means you could see nothing. So that from when the universe started, here, this place was like a melting pot, millions of degrees temperature, everything looked like nothing. So this was non-differentiation age, and then differentiation started somewhere. Nobody knows when, but that is according to the scripture, according to metaphysics, and also according to physics. And then 4.5 billion years ago, our planet Earth appears. That means from there to there, what happened 10 billion years, nobody knows about. You can say this star formed and that galaxy formed and this, that, and the other. You can date them, but there was no life as we know life. And then about 3 to 4 billion years ago, first single cell life form appeared on our planet. Whether you look at it from science point of view or spirituality point of view, they're all talking the same thing. In the Bible also, they talk about creatures coming first and then other life forms. Human beings are last. And that is what physics talks about also. So as a matter of fact, it's easier to understand spirituality if you put a physical story forward. From science perspective, it's much easier. So communication of spirituality is much easier if you take the refuge of science. Otherwise, it's a matter of belief or matter of faith, or if you are a person who knows how to explore, you may understand after a couple of years or a few years of contemplation. So because the sciences converge, we can talk spirituality in scientific ways, and we can talk science in spiritual ways, mutual enrichment. And once you start talking with that kind of narrative, the whole story changes. The way you look at things change, your worldview changes, your research focus will change, and the way you study things will change. So next phase, from that one single cell life form, which is also infinitesimal, it is more concrete than the spirit, but it's still infinitesimal. Further growth, few billion years, 3-4 billion years, a human-like cell is created. And before that gets created, in between, from one cell to multicellular life in the ocean, from multicellular life to fish and little, then the amphibians that can move on earth as well as live in water, and then different creatures which crawl and then they walk, and then finally a human being or humanoid appears. So this is the journey from one single cell life form to a humanoid cell. And then from a humanoid, from this form of humanoid to that form, to that form, to that form, finally to the form of human beings that we see now, and the first cell of a human being, and then from the first cell of a human being, from one cell to 37.2 trillion cells. Imagine, it's a huge number. 37.2 trillion is 5,000 times, maybe more than 5,000 times the human population of the whole planet. And that is how many live cells are there in my body. And as my body grows from one single cell to, to a full-grown human being, the one cell growing to 37.2 trillion cells, all the genetics, the gene structure, the chromosomes of all the cells are alike. No matter which cell you pick up, you take the gene of that cell and then take the gene of any other cell, identical. Whether you take the cell maybe from my hair or from my nose or from my skin or from my hand or my eyes, genetic structure is the same for every cell. And yet, because if there was one cell living by itself, it is exposed to the environment. It can get the sustenance from the environment. But when they are an agglomeration of 37.2 trillion cells, how do the cells that are in the very middle, how do they sustain themselves? They are not exposed to the environment. So the energy, the food and air and everything are supplied to them by their radical cooperation. Some cells become eye cells, some cells become lung cells, some cells become heart cells. They self-organize so that the whole universe of 37.2 trillion cells can survive. So imagine the complexity of the creation. Metaphysics of being human. I showed you different configurations for different places. They say God was made, human was made in the image of God, in the sense that God is a very mystical character, and so is a human being. You cannot tell how my mind is going to work from time to time. So I'm the subtlest being of all beings on the planet. Okay, subtle means my concretization on the whole totality of concretization is far less than that of matter and that of creatures and animals. Now look at scripture and metaphysics. This is metaphysics, and scripture says that we have body. All of us have got body. We all have got a faculty of the mind, which we call sensory faculty, and a faculty of the mind, which is called ego or ego identity. And then we got an intellect. And then we got something more than the intellect. We don't know what it is. We never experienced it. So there is some mystery. Okay. So we have body, we have mind, and you can say this is spiritual mystery. Body, mind, and spirit. That's what we are. And all the scriptures talk about these three. Okay. Their language is different, their wording is different, their metaphors are different, their imagery is different, but in essence, that is what they all agree that we are. This word is nafs, is um, an Arabic word. It's from Islam. Nafs means that part of the mind which grows from our sense experience or from our survival instincts. Okay, so this is sensory faculty, and the activity of the sensory faculty, activity of the ego, and the activity of the rational part of the intellect. Okay, and we put it all together. They use the word nafs for it, and it is a very significant concept, and it originated in Judaism, and then it continued in Islam. Uh, the others mostly talk about sensory faculty, ego, and intellect. And intellect has got various layers, in other words. Intellect, that part of the intellect which is close to the ego, is rational. And that part of the intellect which is close to the spirit has got unifying wisdom there. Not that it denies rationality, it is beyond rationality. You have to go through rational intellect to get there. Okay? If your rational intellect is not developed, you cannot really get to wisdom. So this is a human being from metaphysics and scripture. And then this is neurophysiology. Okay, there is some sense of self, sense of I, that you can see in neuropsychology what their sense of I is. And then we got a brain which has got three layers to it. Okay, the lowest layer of the brain is called the brain stem. Brain stem, and then the amygdala in the limbic part of the brain, and then the neocortex where the thinking brain is. So this is the lowest part of the brain is the brain stem, which runs the unconscious activities of the mind and body. And then amygdala, which runs the subconscious activities of the body. And neocortex, especially the prefrontal cortex, that runs the intellectual activities of the mind. So unconscious activities of the mind and body, and then subconscious, and then conscious. So that is the way we are structured according to neurophysiology. And our eyes of the body receives the stimulus. It is sent by the body to the nervous system. It goes then to the brain. The brain, sometimes it can just, the brain stem can dispose it off. Okay, just turn it away from here. You can decide, okay, this is what you should do. Sometimes this guy here, which is the emotional part of the brain, subconscious part of the brain, sometimes that will dispose of the stimulus that's coming in, And sometimes, and that happens rarely, that the thinking part of the brain comes into the picture. The highest activity of the brain is of the brain stem, then the emotional amygdala, and then the neocortex, the conscious neocortex. That's the way the nervous traffic is disposed of. Okay. Now, if you put it all together, the perfect coherence. Sensory faculty essentially works unconsciously. Okay. It carries all the signals, but most of the signals are unconscious signals, signals that originate from the mind and the body for simple existence. Okay. For example, in my body, my heart runs. I'm not conscious of it. It's an unconscious activity. My heart is pulsing. I'm breathing 24/7. My blood is circulating through the veins and the arteries 24/7. And there are so many, my food is being digested and then it is being metabolized into energy. I don't know anything about it. But my brain knows. My brain doesn't know either. You can say the uh, the the lower region of the brain, the brain stem, deals with it in a reflexive manner, in an automated manner. You can say the brain stem is the automation controller of my body and mind. Just like an automatic machine, my body works. And a lot of things are totally automatic. And whatever is automatic is very fast. Okay. And then slower than the automation is emotion, instincts, instinctive emotion that are built into us before we are born. There's memory, which is called phylogenetic memory, that carries in the genes all the instincts. Nobody teaches us how to eat, for example. Nobody teaches us how to defecate. Nobody teaches us how to suck mother's milk. It is automatic. Okay. And now the talk of sex education. In olden days, there was no sex education. Who taught them? Nobody. It just is natural. It's built in. Uh, so that instinctive memory is called phylogenetic memory. It is located in the genes. Okay. And those instinctive life is mostly automatic. My blood circulates, it's automatic. Heart pulses, it's automatic. I breathe, it's automatic. Nobody taught me how to breathe. It just happens. Okay, so that is the automatic part is the highest nervous activity. And then the subconscious emotions. Okay, what is an emotion? Emotion is the experience of living instinctive life. Okay, when an automatic thing happens in such a way that some mark is left on us. If I have a good cup of coffee, I say, well, that cup of coffee was great. It smelled great. It tasted great. Good fragrance. I'm going to buy that one. Okay. So whenever I smell that kind of coffee, my foot is going to go on the brake automatically. That is subconscious emotion. A liking of something is subconscious. Addiction about something is subconscious. So many anger is subconscious. When you do something that I don't like, I get angry, I get mad. Okay. In other words, I lose the connection with my thinking brain. That's what emotion does to us. No thought process, automatic, more or less automatic, but I would say it's semi-automatic because emotional life leaves a memory, okay, that is called experiential memory. And we have a lot of experiential memory in us. And when there's an emotional stimulus, we automatically do things, okay, and then gather more emotional memory. And when something is not automatic, something is not emotional, whatever is left, that is what my conscious mind, my thinking does. Very little, in other words. There are people, they have never tried thinking. And if your brain works and if you're living from it, then you are one of the fortunate ones. Being human, physics, and the scripture of individual traditions. I'm going to look at Vedic tradition. Darkness was there, all wrapped around by darkness, all was water indiscriminate. Then that which was hidden by void, that one emerging, stirring through power of ardor came to be. Okay, this is Raimundo Paniker's translation of Nasadiya Sutta. This just like your book of Genesis of the Bible. Vedic tradition, the universe is comprised of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. Earth means solids, water means liquids, fire means everything that gives out heat and light, air means everything that in gaseous form, and space means everything in vibration form in the heavens. There is sound, for example, I'm speaking. It is carried through the atmosphere, through vibrations. There is electromagnetic vibrations, there are sound vibrations, there is lightning and all that stuff happening in space. So energy, you can say earth, water, fire, air, and visible energy. Okay, and then senses, even creatures of God senses, if they got to survive, they got to defend themselves, and they got to sense danger. So without senses, nothing can survive. And the experience of the senses becomes my identity. I define myself, I like this kind of coffee, I like this kind of dress, and I do this kind of work. And all that is sensory experience. Sum total of all sensory experience is what is called ego. That gives us our identity. Okay, and then beyond it is intellect. Okay, so as you go from there to there, subtle. And as you go here, this is infinitely subtle. That's the way it is. And as you go from the spirit side to the perceptible universe side, concreteness increases and grossness increases. All solids are very easily perceptible. You don't have to think about it. They're obvious. Water is obvious, but water can also be in the form of vapor. Then it's not obvious. Okay. And then fire, light, and heat, not as obvious as water. So like that, things go. So this is this forms our physical body. Okay, earth, water, fire, air, and space forms our physical body, and physical body of everything, you can say. And then this forms the mental body or mind. Subtle interiority, this is physical exteriority. So mind is on the interior. Interior means closer to the spirit. Body is on the exterior, means closer to the outside world. Spirit, you can say, is the central core of you. And that is Vedic tradition. And That was cosmos. Cosmos means the universe, and this is anthropos, Greek for human being. Senses, ego, and intellect, and these are the five elements, gross elements that comprise my body. Okay, and then this part of the intellect is rational, and this part of the intellect is beyond rationality. And this here is so subtle that we have no experience of it. You can gain experience of it in contemplation. You can be aware of the full existence of yours, right from body to the spirit. But that is a contemplative experience. Ordinarily, we are not aware. We have no experience of the spiritual mystery. Biblical tradition. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And then God said, let there be light, and there was light. So, non-differentiation, that means oneness. You could not see Shiv from Garima, or, Garima for Christine. You could not tell, but they were there. And then they became differentiable. So biblical tradition, Spirit of God in the center of you, then interiority of the mind, and then exteriority of the body. And this is one narrative the Bible uses. We have the body, then we have creaturely soul, then we have animal soul, and then we have human soul, and then we got spirit. Okay. Soul is the word that they use for mind. So creaturely mind, that is sensory faculty. Animal soul, what is special about animals? They got herd identity. Creatures don't have even herd identity. They live by themselves. And animals got, creaturely soul plus herd identity. And human soul is creaturely soul, and animal soul beyond that is human soul. This is our yearning for love and compassion, our yearning for belonging, social identity, you can say, community identity. And also our capacity for going beyond community and connecting with the rest of the world. That is in the human soul. If we connect, if we see unity and diversity, we cannot see it from here, we cannot see it from here, we cannot see it even from the rational part here, we can only see it from the contemplative part here. Okay, that part which is beyond rationality. And then there is the serpent Eve Adam narrative. Serpent is that stealthily, moves you into doing things like sensory faculty, the temptress, you can say, and it works like a serpent in a very stealthily fashion. You do not know when it's coming. This is automatic, you can say, unconscious, unconsciously gain control of you. And then rational faculty, rationality that emerges from sensory experience. Okay, and the metaphor in the Bible is Eve. Okay, the serpent goes through Eve to seduce human, Adam. Okay, this is human soul, and for the human soul they use the word Adam in the Bible. So to seduce the Adam, what is the best way? Okay, go to a temptress, a woman, And that is what serpent does. Again, imagery that is used, metaphors that are used are different, but what they're saying is not. Islamic tradition, again, just like the Vedic tradition, earth, water, fire, air, and celestial. Celestial is what we use the word space in Sanskrit word is akash. I don't know what the Arabic word is, but it's been translated to celestial. Celestial means something that is in the sky, in the air, in the up above. Okay, so solids, liquids, heat and light, gases, and vibrations in up above, and vegetable soul. Vegetative soul is uh, the lowest form of the mind, the sensory faculty. Animal soul, Bible uses that too. And then the Arabic word is akal for intellect. Okay, this is the cosmos, and um, for humans, body is made out of the five elements from earth to uh, sky, and then vegetable soul, animal soul, and intellect. Vegetable soul is accessory, sensory, ego, and intellect. And the word for the spirit is al-haq. Al-haq means the real. That is the reality. The most fundamental reality is al-haq, or the spirit. And this is the Jewish Kabbalah. Um, you got a head and a heart and hands, and that's what this triad is: the intellect, the head, 1, 2, 3. But then this is a later addition. This is the triad. This is called the spirit, and this is understanding and spirit, wisdom, and understanding. Okay, so intellect has been broken up into wisdom as well as rational understanding. And then mind can be in 3 different forms. On the right hand side is, the forceful mind, that's, and then, no, sorry, the mind that can see oneness, and then this can see individual, and this is our normal human, which is sometimes here, sometimes there. You can have some feeling of this, that, and the other, but not one-sided. And then as far as senses are concerned, they're the hands that are doing things. And these senses are the automatic senses. These senses are that part of the senses that send their signals to the head, to the thinking brain. And between these two is our existence. This is our subtle existence, the gross existence. Now, it's also expressed in this form, body, nefesh. Nefesh is the source of nafs, Islamic nafs, the sensory faculty. And ruah is identity, and this is intellect. Hebrew words, but that's what they mean. Now, this is all of that, what we have seen, talks about one common ground of the whole existence, whether you are a tree, whether you are a bird, whether you are a horse, or a horse rider, or a human being, or whatever. You are from the same ground called the spirit. Okay, so you're all growing from that, therefore you are from the same source, so you are all one. That's what this thing is. And the seeing of duality is what Einstein called delusion of consciousness. If I see you as an individual unconnected with me, and then I treat you like that, then that, he says, is a delusion of consciousness. It's uh, like a mirage. It is not reality, but this is what you see. And to see the reality of life, you have to get rid of that delusion of consciousness, which is seeing duality. See unity in diversity is what his vision is. And this is physicist. I'm not talking of Jesus Christ, or I'm not talking of Shankara, I'm not talking of Lord Buddha, I'm talking of a scientist. So if you look at different forms of life and different forms of existence, a person who knows how to, whose mind can only put things in their own silos, unconnected with each other, is a reductionist mind. And that mind, or that state of mind, which can see connections with each other, they can see whole worldview, is holistic mind. The holistic mind sees this as a human family, and a reductionist mind sees it as individually. Like, to those with narrow reductionist minds, this one is a kin and that one is not. Okay, so we pick and choose. This is my family, this is not. But to those with broad holistic minds, it is one global family. So if we start seeing one global family of all existence of the planet, that is the highest form of human development that can lead to all kinds of peace, no stress at all, no duality. Stress is the result of duality, and it can create a whole host of problems. And then finally, we have a vision of the future education. So come and vision that future of education with us. We are having a conference on 4 consecutive weekends starting September 26th, and then October 4th, October 10th, and October 17th from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., 2.5 hours on each of the 4 days. And join us. To register, you can go to our website, which is spiritualeducation.org, easy to remember, spiritualeducation1word.org. You go there, on the opening page, you will see a link to register. And if you click on a poster that looks like this, it'll give you more information about it. And if you want to talk to me or have some question for me, this is my email. You'll be most welcome to ask questions or give suggestions. And please do join us. And this is going to be a working conference. We're going to be presenting a proposal to the attention of educational policymakers of the world to envision the future of education, including the teaching of unity and diversity. And that is one way of achieving world peace. And that is one way of making everybody healthy and stress-free. And that is a way of making everybody well. So please come and join us. And if you have any questions, you're most welcome to ask. I see Rohini Talwar is there. Rohini, maybe, and Annie, maybe you can unmute yourself. Maybe I have to do it. Let's see. Please unmute yourself and be visible, and let's ask questions if there are any. Stop sharing.
Hi, Thayaji.
Hi.
Rose mic isn't working, so I just thought that I would say hi on her behalf,
Uh-huh.
but she was listening.
Who is working? Whose behalf you're talking about? Greg?
Rohini.
Hmm? Rohini.
Rohini?
Okay. Ask to unmute.
It was very good presentation, Chef.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Suman. Any questions?
No,
Any
it was excellent.
discussion, comment?
No, it was very good. Good overall view from the scientific base to the end. It was really, really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine?
Very informative, Chef.
Thank you.
Yeah, very deep. Lots of information there, and it's a great scientific basis. Yeah, thank you.
No, that is one beauty that came out of our work of the last 20 years. We see total coherence from one religion to the next. If you go deep down to the core, okay, on the surface, there are lots of differences. At the faith level, there are lots of differences. At the wisdom level, there is no difference. At the metaphysical level, no difference. You know, that is how religion started. And then, you know, politics and everything else gather around it, and it became divisive. But there is a lot of wisdom in religion, and all good. And they are all talking the same language. Whether you look at the Vedas that, you know, you're talking of 5,000 years old, or the Torah is maybe 4,000 or 5,000 years also. The Bible, the New Testament is new, but Genesis from the Old Testament. All we saw was first couple of books of Genesis. And then there are all kinds of stories added to the wisdom to make it more accessible, and also to a whole lot of people, because people cannot go too deep. So they have to appeal to the masses of people, generality of people. So they have all kinds of other stories to get them within the fold. And so much so that the stories now predominate and the wisdom is now disappeared. The institutional loyalties have taken hold of all forms of religious faith. And they say, well, you don't read, you don't try to understand, you come to us, we'll tell you what the book says.
And I have to add that I love that Siri was fully aligned with what you were saying.
Right.
Yeah. Annie, where are you from, Annie?
Oh, I'm in Texas.
Are you in Texas?
Austin, Texas. Yep.
Austin.
Mhm.
Are things behaving there? Is there you having a storm or some nature or not?
No, so far we're doing okay this year, but
This year you're doing okay.
this year, yeah. But I think lots of vulnerability in the future. But yeah, I think what you were saying just then about the scriptures and the way people are seeing them, I was thinking about this towards the end of your presentation, that rational mind, keeps us away from the mysticism. And, you know, so there's that tendency to just make it be a nice story. And we've been in that mode for a very long time. And it's very sad because the depth is there in all the traditions. And so I took a few notes. I can't see them right now, but you definitely brought out some really great points. And I'm going to see if I can share your presentation on the Teilhard de Chardin page on Facebook. I don't know if you're aware of Teilhard, but he was
I am aware of it.
Yeah, and I think what
so.
you're talking about is training people in universities to study as he did. You know, he always approached everything as both a mystic and a scientist, and I think it's why, you know, he's so in vogue these days, and so needed. And so you're really speaking his vision. So I'm going to see if I can't share this there.
Oh yeah, you can. You are part of that group. I don't
Yeah,
know. It
I'm one of
depends
the
on how the group is structured. If you are a member who can share things on that page, you can.
Right. Well, we're just, you know, I'm one of the admins, and we have 8,000 members.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Just kind of be careful,
Yeah,
but I will reference it with Teilhard, and it will be fine. Yeah.
If you're one of the admins, you sure can.
Well, I'll get in trouble with the other admins if I don't kind of follow the rules, but I think it will be great. So yeah, I just saw it as really falling in line with what we're doing there. So thank you.
You know, what people call mysticism, I call wisdom. Because mysticism is a dismissive word, and it has been used as such to keep people away from there. Yeah, you won't understand it. It's total mystery, and you know, you don't go there, and that kind of a thing. That is how it's been used so far. I like to call it wisdom. Actually, even science is mysticism. Who understands energy mass equivalence, for example, of Einstein? Nobody does. Things you don't understand, you call it mystery. Science, there's a lot of mystery in science. Try to read quantum physics, you'll see how much mystery is there in science.
Right.
And same thing with spirituality. There are things that are easier to grasp. There are things that you have to contemplate on it. There's nothing that you cannot understand if you think about it. And contemplation is nothing but a discipline of searching for the truth. And
with the whole self.
When?
Searching for the truth with the whole self.
Yeah.
Not just the rational mind.
Explore. You can very easily get out of the rational mind. Christine and I are going to do a presentation tomorrow, and we're talking about how you get out of the rational mind. And it's very easy. And again, science comes to our rescue when it comes to contemplation. If you understand physiology or neurophysiology a little bit, not a lot, a little bit of understanding neurophysiology gives you a systematic way of getting out of rationality.
Lovely.
But then you have to tread the path. If you don't tread the path, then you won't see the results.
Right. Well, thank you so much. This was
You're
great.
You're very welcome, Annie. Good to see.
Participating in Peace Weekend and the Up Convergence and all that.
Thank you.
It's a great organization. Yeah. Okay.
All the best.
To you too.
Nice meeting you, Annie.
You too, Christine. Bye-bye.
Good to meet you, Annie, and Christine. All the best. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to end the meeting.